I gotta tell you, meatloaf was one of my favorite things growing up, but I've got a recipe that takes what my mom used to make and I put a little elevation on it. It's a stuffed meatloaf with spinach and mozzarella. Let's get cooking with style. So the first thing you want to do is saute your spinach in literally just like 3 minutes. You're going to set it on the side like this and tilt it because you see all this liquid down there? We don't want that in the meatloaf, and we're going to take that out and we'll stuff that into the meatloaf when we get it all prepped up. All right, so let's do that right now. We're going to first start with our eggs here, and to that I'm going to add my dry ingredients. I want them all blended in, and so what I'll do is I'll go with a tablespoon of garlic, make that a teaspoon of garlic, a teaspoon of salt, and a half teaspoon of pepper. And the reason I'm doing this is because you don't want that to get stuck in one spot. To this I'm going to add my milk, and I'm going to give that a little whisk at first here to get those eggs broken up. And then I'm going to add my breadcrumbs to that. So I have a nice little paste that's all consistent. And then finally, in goes the onions. We'll give this a nice swirl around. And then to that, let me clear the working space. We're going to add this all to my ground beef. I'm using 20%, meaning that it's got 20% fat. I like that better because it adds more flavor to the meatloaf. You can go leaner, but then you're going to have to add fat somewhere. So why not just leave it in the beef? All right, I'm going to mix this up, and then I'm going to show you the next step. All right, so we've got the meatloaf mixed. We're going to split it in half and literally just take your hand and take that out and set it in your baking dish. Now I've pre-oiled this with a little olive oil. You can use like canola oil, and you're just going to flatten this out to form the lower half of the meatloaf. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a little like indentation in the center where we're going to put the spinach and the cheese. So you see how we've got that all set up like that? And then we're just going to take our spinach and lay that in the center there. And then we're going to take the mozzarella cheese. You can use like a blend if you want, if you don't want to do a little provolone or whatever. And so now we just take our cheese and put it in the center like that. I mean, that already looks good. Now here's the trick I want to show you. Give me a second to set this up and I'll show you how easy the next step is. What I've done is put some cellophane wrap down on my cutting board, and I'm just going to put that meatloaf, the top half, and it works best if you get your hands a little wet with this. And we're just going to flatten this out, and that's going to be the lid that we put on top of our meatloaf. And you can just see, you just flatten it out like you're doing like a pizza dough or something like that. Move this way so you can watch the magic happen. Just pick it up, set it on top, peel that off, seal the sides like so. Make sure they're pressed in there nice and neat, and you form a nice loaf because everyone's going to want a piece of the goodness inside. I've got my oven preheated. Let's head over there. I'm going to put the meatloaf in naked. In other words, no sauce on top. The reason for that, we want it to get a nice little crust. It's been about 40 minutes. We've got a nice crust on top of this meatloaf. Now, the one thing I really want you to do is, well, the two things, is don't waste that sauce that's in there. Put a little bit of water inside there. We're going to put it in our sauce that's preheated on the stove. You do not, unless you're using a metal baking dish, if you're using a glass one, you do not want to put cold sauce on here. You could break the pan. And I'm using this nice marinara, and I'm going to coat the whole thing, and I'm going to hold a little bit back for serving. We're going to pop this back in the oven for another, say, 10 minutes. All right, this is looking really good. That nice crust underneath. The sauce is warmed up all the way through. Let's do one little presentation thing here first. We'll put some parsley over the top. Now let's slice this open. The test is coming, all right? There's that first slice. Let's take this slice a little bit further in, just for the fun, so you get the full effect. All right, move this off to the side because it's very hot. Remember that sauce I told you to save? We'll take a little bit of that, sauce the plate like so. Take our meatloaf in here. Oh man, look at that cheese and spinach all nice and melted on the inside. And then just a little bit more sauce over the edge to kind of finish it off. A sprig of parsley on the side for you at home. And there you go. How about that for a stuffed meatloaf? I mean, simple ingredients that you get right at the store, not a lot of work. Take that recipe for meatloaf that you have and dress it up. This recipe is available on our website at cbs8.com/recipes. Enjoy.